Blog Talk Radio. When I look at you, I know I want to be with you forever, baby. I love you. But I don't want to let you go either. So why don't we all make this work?
To be or not to be, baby, that was a question. Cause when we met, we was looking for a direction. Can't front, when I saw your body caught my attention. Not to mention, I was really looking for some affection. That was a section of my life on suspension. I was talking shorties up like a sexual engine, fucking and Frenching, just like a dark henchman. But when she hit me with the bomb, it got me thinking. She suggested another potential sister and lover. And with this other in the covers, maybe we both a lover. And now, I'm thinking, damn, how soon? So we could all get a room and get down. But wait, should I debate what if shorty's a flick? But if I hesitate, it might be too late. Should I contemplate and await the fate? If all this ice I should skate, let the pussy marry me and polyamory. It was another way to be more than polygamy. It was another way to see all that we could be. Instead of two, it was a three. But everything we see ain't what it appeared to be a polyamory.
I need you to have you in my life. Don't care what people say, I'll be your otherwise.
About 3 months later was as long as she could wait her. She told me about this girl that she knew from Jamaica with some nice firm titties and with very little makeup. We all had dinner, started hanging out, but wait up. But maybe I should date her first myself, collect the data. The thought of being with both at once outweighed her. My rational perception of the sequence of events. I really didn't care about the secrets or pretend. To make a long story short, it came down to one night that we was talking on a tree, all feeling alright. One buckled my pants, the other started to dance. What was giving me head, vagina full of my hands. The sex was sticky and wet. They started sucking their breath, one position to the next. When we finally fell asleep, I was looking at the dawn, thinking, damn, this shit was really long. Polyamory, it was another way to be more than polygamy. It was another way to see all that we could be. Instead of two, it was a three. But everything we see ain't what it appeared to be a polyamory.
I need you to have you in my life. Don't care what people say, I'll be your otherwise.
See, be careful what you wish for, you just might get it. I had no idea what this relationship was headed. I really didn't care, so as both of them was there. Thought that we was building something cause they bodies they share. Intimate liaisons, the sex amazon. But they both was keeping secrets like a larger mason. They're meeting with one another while using me as the other. I was the envy of my brothers, but they started to smother. See, it wanted me to choose, either way I would lose. Lies come in many hues, but ugliness rules. So in the end, I had to stop, cause the other shoe dropped. So I had to clean up the spot like a janitor's mop. But hey, I can't complain, there was no shame in my game. Doing the threesome maintain, but you come on the cane. The aim of the game is to say what you mean, but even do what you feel, but make sure you keep it real and polyamory. It was another way to be more than polygamy. It was another way to see all that we could be. Instead of two, it was a three. But everything we see ain't what it appeared to be a polyamory.
I need you to have you in my life. Don't care what people say, I'll be your otherwise. I need you to have you in my life. Don't care what people say, I'll be your otherwise. I just need me for you, even if she's with you, you should be with me too. You know that I don't care, even when people stare. Your love's so good, I swear. Do it, baby.
Peace to all humans on the planet Earth. I'm your host, Aseer the Duke of Tears, holding it down for my brother, Sagar Ali, who's holding down real life right now. This is Super Heru Radio. We're saying peace again to all the human families of the planet Earth, everybody on the check-in. See a lot of people started coming in before we started the show. For that, thank you for all the support. Can't tell you enough, what's going on in terms of how much it validates or helps us go on when we get little hiccups and stuff in the road. So much is going on, man. Here we are in another week, still in the so-called belly of the beast. not just America being the beast. We're talking about the entire so-called country. You know what I mean? That is unfortunately living a beast way of life, and unfortunately we trapped up in it for whatever reason. But it ain't gonna be too much longer, so everybody should start preparing and getting ready if you ain't started already. So much going on in the news. We could do a quick roundabout based on everything that's we are in a situation now with so much other stuff that's going on, you know, in this so-called world. We should definitely begin to pay, if not more attention, closer attention to a lot of these extreme occurrences, because regardless of who or what, everybody, the powers that be are working to allow everyone to be affected by such. So we have to necessarily keep it going and going to the point that we can physically rise above all of this nonsense, you know, being that there is so much of it out there and so prevalent. One of the biggest things that I did the knowledge to was the fact that when we talked about last week, the torpedo hitting the oil rig, you know, the State Department and a bunch of other so-called alphabet gangs have been trying to keep it on the low. But they can't really do that anymore. So right now what's going on is they are putting themselves on maritime maneuvers in the waters off the coast of North Korea. So basically what's happening is that they create what they call a staging ground, where you have the North Korean government, who they know is responsible, or they feel is responsible for what happened to the rig or whatever. So to get payback, you know what I mean, they got to basically push themselves further out. So what they're doing is they're using the beachhead that they've already established in South Korea as a means to maintain a certain semblance of they're just doing war games and things like that. But what's actually going on is that we're in what they would call soft war, meaning that this thing with North Korea has been going on for a long time. But specifically since January 25th, again, the day, was it January or July? I think it was July 25th, the day that Michael Jackson was terminated, was the day that North Korea formally declared war on the United States. Now, this is the first time that they spoke outside of their own beef with South Korea. So again, it's showing you that they're going back and forth now, and they're escalating the situation. So the situation is now escalated to the point where North Korea / China got many subs, or attack subs or whatever, off the coastal waters of the United States, which then also negates whatever the Coast Guard and the rest of these niggas think they doing. They obviously ain't doing what they supposed to, because it ain't working, because they scared to do anything based on the fact that they don't know if these subs are still out there. So what the United States is doing is trying to leverage the same and be on the sideline, off the coast of North Korea. So they figured they would basically put them into the same type of situation. So ever since then now, because BP are really not the ones that really have any means to explain this at all, everybody's basically pointing the blame game. So the next level of the blame game now is going to go to the government. The government is going to start now trying to take responsibility. They're going to basically start blaming all of them. Since I've been down here in Florida, since this whole thing started, every 20 minutes maybe, I'm seeing military helicopters or helicopters that can't be mistaken for anything else but military helicopters. Only thing that they be all black and shit. So I know, whenever you see black helicopters, just like when you see white vans, you got to start paying attention, because you never know if they're trying to put you in an op or not. For those layman people, an op is short for operation or standard operating procedure. So, you got to be careful, because a lot of times they be putting people in these things, and you won't even know that you're in one until you wind up becoming Apache. That's why it's really important for those of us who are conscious to really be in control of our thoughts. The thought frequency waves that we put out, like all of these things, bear a certain degree of relevance to how we can be worked, unfortunately, you know. So this oil thing has gotten totally out of control. Again, I'm in Florida, so every other day, me and the queen and the baby, I've been urging clients that I've been doing tarot readings and stuff for, if you can, go out to the ocean and start putting positive energy out there towards it, you know, in the name of Yemaya, Olokun, Persephone is another version of Olokun, Nephthys, the fallen daughter. Any goddess that represents the underworld or the deep, you know what I mean, the deep waters of the planet. Those are the entities that are still residing in the oxygen molecules that exist within the water that you can commune to when you go up in there. So I'm urging everybody, get you some flowers or something, throw it into the ocean, you know, keep this thing mentally and spiritually as much as we can from basically attacking the shore. Also, those people who are maybe Christians or just coming out of the Christian thing, you'll read in your Bible, they talk about the parting of the Red Sea, and they also talk about the 12 plagues of Egypt, in which the sea turns red as blood. Now, all you got to do is turn on the news and look at the bird's eye view pictures of the oil in the water. If that don't look like blood in the water, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? So we really got to do the knowledge. Another thing you could do, there's a couple of websites that just popped up recently that I've been doing the knowledge to that are selling peat moss, P-E-A-T moss. It's a certain type of moss that grows in the wilds of Canada that they used when the Exxon Valdez thing went up. And this stuff, you just basically just throw it down, and this thing sucks up all the oil and converts it, you know what I'm saying, naturally. But again, as much as you've heard, you've never heard any of the BP people talking about a natural solution to this thing. Because remember, when these people create these oil companies and everything, their purpose is profit. Their purpose is not for environmental protection. It's not for anything else but making money. So again, you know, you're not going to hear anybody talking about how the thing exploded. We're moving away from that because, again, to get into how, that means you got to really look at the evidence of the explosion to then see how it is it happened. And if you do that, you're going to see, you know, it's a rip in that thing that's basically around the size, again, of a torpedo head. But again, this is just what we're saying, Super Heru Radio. Do your own research, find out. If you find something different or even more in-depth as to what we've been building on about it, please go to superheruradio.com, just drop us a line or whatever, and we'll investigate it further and get it back up there for you. The UN General Ban Ki-moon, right, who's a part of the Universalist Church, which is the Church of the Moonies, which was a cult in Japan that was based on ancient, what they would call Bushido, what I would call ancient Moorish culture of Japan. Anyway, Sun Myung Moon or whatever, these guys, this is his grandson running it all. So because his grandson is running the whole UN thing now, you got to do the knowledge that anybody that takes the job of Secretary General or thing in the United Nations is coming from the perspective of that is a job that's a ceremonial position. So that's usually a job given to somebody based on them being a good lapdog for somebody else. I say that because the UN is not a country, is not a place that sovereign nations go to. The UN is only for those nations that have been declared de facto or what they would call NGOs. If you really want to get something done, anybody that's in the know in international politics knows that you got to go to the Hague and get that hooked up. So anytime you see these people talk about the United Nations or they're trying to get the United Nations involved or whatever, it's usually a front to get into somebody's de facto country that's been basically taken over. Speaking of de facto, the financial report from New York was just issued today, and basically, they're basically saying that New York as a state is totally insolvent. Now, those people, you know, who may study law, finance, or science, or whatever, people should know that there's a difference between being bankrupt and being insolvent. Bankrupt is more of a legal term. You know what I'm saying? That's dealing with the more logistics of a company or companies that have had their funds drastically reduced to the point that they can no longer support their shareholders. Therefore, the company has to be broken up. Therefore, the company then has to be broken up and put into an isolationist agenda, for lack of, which then basically means that they have no other image. You know what I'm saying? So when you're insolvent, though, insolvency means that you are not going to be able to ever repay anything. You know what I'm saying? So when that happens, the next step from an insolvency proceeding basically is a force majeure proceeding where everything basically gets sold off, which essentially is what's happening now with the fire sale. So in order to cut corners and get more money, revenue into the state, the mayor, whom Brother Daoud affectionately calls Dr. Doomberg is basically cutting out maybe 40% of public service jobs. So those people who have jobs for the city and stuff like that, you got to really start doing it now and start speaking to your union reps, because some of these union reps that are involved with these things is being paid off, and they're basically bouncing on people's on people's expectations when it comes to their job security. Job security is a thing of the past. That's another thing you got to do now. A job, which is what my god brother Baki, he calls a job just over broke. So when you in a just over broke, man, you in a situation where you are dependent upon somebody else for sustenance. America as a country has been dependent upon foreign bankers for its sustenance really since the original 2012, which was actually 1912. So you got to do the knowledge that now that they've declared insolvency, a lot of shit has to go. So one of the things that they just passed to bring more money into the state is they just denied midwives in New York the ability to deliver home births. Midwives are now being urged to now have their children in hospitals directly. So all of that, again, is getting really crazy. You know, they're automatically now telling you where and how you can have a baby. So they haven't outlawed it, which is good. But if they do that, then that means that if you have a baby potentially in your house, then that means you could be arrested. This is where they're going with it. You know what I'm saying? There was something else on top of that. Yeah, so because New York is now officially insolvent, you got to ask yourself, where they getting the money to build up the Nets Stadium? You know what I mean? Where's Jay-Z and the rest of these niggas getting all of this dough to put all of this money into this thing? See, just because the country is insolvent or bankrupt, that don't mean that members of the country are the same. You know what I'm saying? And I mean, we all know that, but it's to the point now where there's a drastic gap. Brandeis University, which is a polling university, meaning that any poll that they need to justify bullshit, they get it from this type of university. Universities like Stanford, universities like Caltech, universities like MIT, universities like Brandeis, Johns Hopkins. All of these are so-called Ivy League universities. Anytime you see you have Ivy and League in front of that, that's a Masonic thing. And we all know about them goddamn Freemasons. Anyway, what's really going down with that too is that now that they've created this thing where there is no money, They got to get money from somewhere. So universally, as you can see, everything that they promised about the so-called New American Century, the so-called New World Order, all of that stuff now is coming back to bite them in the ass, because when you link up everything under one system, if one thing gets messed up, the entire system is destroyed, and that was the purpose of the New World Order to begin with. It's not about grabbing up people and forcing people to do this and that. It's about creating as much chaos as possible by using the mental fabrication that they have the ability to come through your crib and do all this stuff that they've been prophesying doing since 1899. See, the only difference now is that you have these pockets of consciousness throughout the country and shit that they're more scared about than anything else, more than the guns, more than the militias. They're scared about those 2 or 3 black people that's in the ghetto somewhere building on this type of shit, allying with other original people and other people who's willing to stand up and build on what's really going on. So what I was saying with Brandeis University is that they just put out a poll that basically said that white Americans, people who are considered white in America, make $94,000 to $97,000 more per capita than every other black person in the United States. You heard? $94,000 more than every other black person that you see in the United States. So what we're saying is that the so-called poverty line, or the so-called deficit between the haves and the have-nots, has jumped from before civil rights. Let's say prior to Brown versus Board of Education, right? That was the historic thing that Thurgood Marshall argued to get black people to be integrated into so-called separate but equal schools. Because up until then, the running logic was so long as the schools were separate, they could be separate, but they had to be equal. So that means that everything that white kids was learning in their school, black kids had to be learning. Even though black kids only maybe had one book, as long as it was the same curriculum, it's all good. But remember, we talked about this last week, that back in those days, our test scores was off the chain, and the white kids that had it all, their test scores was in the bottom. So back during this time, the difference between, let's say, the haves and the have-not, white people, white Americans, black Americans, it was only, they said it was only like $27,438,000 that white folk had more than black folk. So you mean to tell me that in a country that we were supposed to be integrated into, that we were supposed to get the basic equal freedom, justice, equality that everybody else was supposed to get, you mean to tell me that from back then to now, white folk have been making more money and we've been making less? And then you mean to tell me now, they also did another study on Anderson Cooper about black and white, that black children and white children still see black children, especially dark-skinned black children, as evil and white children as good. This is 2010. They just did a whole survey. Again, Brandeis University did an entire survey, sequestered over 1,000 different students, and they all still saying the same thing. So this is with a black president, okay? This is with a black first lady. This is with a black so-called first family. This is with civil rights or whatever. This is with the Puffies and the Oprahs and the Gazeys and everybody else. This is everybody. We still don't have shit, and worse, we still think that we are the damn problem. We still think that we don't deserve it. You see? But then when we stand up and we actually bring attention to these type of things, they want to make it seem like, oh, you're still focusing on race, or it's not about race anymore, and this, and that. Any nigga that tell you that, you should slap them. Because it's always about race when you're dealing with somebody who is always covered in yours. I don't give a damn how benevolent they are, how many black babies they buying, how many black people they done had sex with, how many rap videos they done emulated and watched, and all that. It don't matter. It always comes down to, when it goes down, what side you're going to be on. And again, if you're the type of person you believe that you are white, if you're the type of person that you believe that you are black in terms of the color only, then again, you're dealing with a certain degree of mind control, and nobody can help you. That's something that everybody individually got to get over. You can watch all the DVDs, read all the books you want, watch all of the John Henry Clarks and all of these people. It's not going to help you. You know what I mean? If you believe that you are inferior, then you will allow inferior entities to be around you to support that psychosis. You know what I'm saying? And unfortunately, this is most of our people right now. You know? Speaking of that, this guy Rand Paul, who made this big upset in the so-called news about because he was able to depose Ron Spector. Excuse me, and Spector. And Spector was one of the old school racist guys that have been in this shit since, you know, Methuselah was a child. Anyway, this guy, Rand Paul, who beat him, was a Republican who switched to the Tea Party shit. But now that he won, his first interview, they was asking him about civil rights, and he basically said that he thinks that civil rights, that all civil rights was bullshit, and then the whole shit needs to be repealed. You see what I'm saying? So now all of those Tea Party Republican people who've been getting hated, getting blasted because they know that whole shit is racist, they now are trying to step away from the nigga, but they can't because he's the only one that can really represent their party in its current state. Because again, the name of the game now is that everything is up for grabs because nobody's in control anymore. The people who act like they most in control is the ones that ain't. It's always the opposite game when you're dealing with international government, or I should say Luciferian politics. It's never what it seems. It's always the opposite. There's always another op going on. Or what they said is a science fiction movie and a series of books called Dune by a guy named Frank Herbert, who is a Shriner who studied Moorish science. Anyway, through the Moorish Orthodox Church. Anyway, one of the characters in the story, he said, the only way to win is when you have plans within plans within plans, and that's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with the ever-present nature of plans unfolding around us. So once we get wise to one, there's like 5 other ones that's there to take its place. But the Creator never said things would be easy, you know. Also, real quick, I want to give another shout out to my brother, because he in the belly of the beast, doing what he got to do now. You know what I mean? I'm really like doing shows without him, but what we're gonna do, we're gonna have a Super Heru Radio 3.0 on Fridays from 9 to 10. We both can be on again. So, you know, this is more like an intimate conversation between me and everybody else who are concerned about all of these seemingly material events that have deep spiritual significance, you know. In entertainment news, Lindsay Lohan already they done put a low jack on her, you know, to show her that celebrities in the Hollywood thing are the new niggas. So they done low jack her, and she got the ill device, the one that not only detects if you're drinking, but if you're doing drugs or smoke anything based on the sweat excretion. So she basically is boxed in for as long as, you know, they're going to let her. But to me personally, I think what's going on is they're trying to get her to kill herself. I think they've been waiting for a sacrifice for a minute now. And she definitely has been cruising for a bruising. In similar story, what's her name? Husband. I think it's either been 3 months. It's been 3 to 4 months, I believe, since Brittany Murphy was found dead. But they just found her husband dead today in the family crib in the bathtub. That's the part they left out on CNN. But when you watch the BBC thing, they tell you, that, you know, they found this dude in the bathtub the same way they found her dead. Just like on the cover of her last movie that she did, Abandoned, she was in the bathtub. Now, we talked about it before. There was an old government book they put out called the Human Exploration Research Manual. And one of those things in there, they talk about these devices they call triptychs, right? another word, layman word for it, they call them water coffins, where they basically use hot tubs and pools as a means of instantaneous transport, i.e. teleportation. There was a movie that just came out recently called Hot Tub Time Machine. I would urge people to see that movie too, because it shows you how when those things get activated and how they work. You know what I mean? Because the thing with time, being that we're building on it real quick, ever since they popped off that Hadron Collider, from the very first time, because they turned it on about 3 times since, but the very first time they did it was around the time we did this lecture in Brooklyn called The Occult History of George Washington and the Antichrist War on Terror. When we built on it then, they were about to turn it on the next day. So collectively, we did a bunch of rituals at that lecture, actually, to try to shut it down. And then that next day, I got mad calls because everybody said, yo, they turned this shit off. And didn't explain why. Now, another thing we should kind of do the knowledge to as original people is the fact that we have more an effect on the outside world than you would ever really imagine. You know what I'm saying? Like, we really have more of an impact on things than we give ourselves credit for. You know, and because we negate our own power to make other people comfortable, we wind up in situations where we're always giving our power over to somebody else. You know what I'm saying? So we got to really be careful when we're dealing with certain things, certain people, because a lot of times we become enslaved to just maintaining a certain degree of peace, you know, when really that's not what it's about. The Bible said, be bold and mighty forces will come to your aid. And this is the level of the game that we need to get into. Like, we be bold, but we be bold about the wrong shit. We be bold about stuff that really has nothing to do with our physical ascension. Our physical ascension or anything in any way, you know. So we need to start, I think, becoming more and more aware of that, you know. The other aspect of awareness, then, is consciousness. Consciousness is the part of us. Consciousness is the part of us that is always awake. Especially, well, unconsciousness, superconscious. Consciousness, too, though. So, you know, this is what's going on. We wind up in situations a lot of times just for the sake of making other people comfortable. And then we wind up being the ones being responsible for what these people have saddled us to do in terms of the work. Because the work nowadays is not really so much about marching and picketing and all of that other stuff. That stuff is going to come. You know what I'm saying? Excuse me. The actual physical part of the so-called revolution is already going to come, but the revolution been here. Our problem, again, is that we are constantly in situations where we are doubting our own resolve and our own power. Not to mention all the snitching and informing that be going on, but you're always going to have a certain degree of that. However, the more conscious somebody becomes, the easier it is for you to detect that shit. You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of different things going on always in the world, and it's just really good that we have a venue or a forum that we can actually discuss this type of things, because these things are doubling up at such a rate that pretty soon there's not going to be any time for us to be talking about anything. You know what I'm saying? Like, even the talking we're doing now, there's different levels of conversation we can have. Like, the conversation that we would have if we was all sitting around together right now would be totally different than the one we have now in terms of us being on radio, because we know everybody else is listening. You know, but again, our people are hard to be led into the right direction, easy to be led astray, though, because most of us have become dependent upon this reality. And a lot of us don't want to admit that yet, that is exactly what they were born to do. You know, a lot of time we get in problems too because we be going against our own nature. We be trying to create, you know, pull rock from a stone that's not going to deliver us nothing, you know. We have to really begin to learn how to be honest with ourselves, if not anybody else, ourselves. Because with honesty, my queen was just like, well, what does that mean?
People say that, but people live in dishonesty if they have whole rights to sign that.
She said, yeah, but people live in dishonesty, and if they have enough people to co-sign that, then that dishonesty becomes truth.
It's the reality.
You're right. But it's still a fictitious, even though that is true and that does happen, it's still a fictitious reality overlaid over a real one. So those people who don't want to deal with anything real will automatically see what's on the top of the surface, and that's what they'll take. Whereas those people who are really about ascending themselves and their loved ones, the ones that they can get there with, those people are going to look beyond that shit and be like, oh, see, I always knew that person was bullshit. Let me deal with the real. And this is what's going on. It's not like there's so many so-called agents and all that stuff in the game, and all different, not just the conscious community, in all communities. Yet that has nothing to do with anybody's own individual journey or ascension. Because those agents and those entities that are around there that's there to distract and all that shit, they're there to do that. That's their job. You know what I'm saying? They was created under the same, they were created, not necessarily, let's say, by the creator, but nothing can be done in the world or in the universe without that energy. So, again, all of this is about bringing shit out of us. Yet, if you don't know who you are and what you're capable of, then you can be fooled into thinking that it's all about you. And that's one of the...
People think it's you, all about you.
The queen was...
You don't have guests on your show.
The queen just told me. She said, yeah, but people think that you're an egotist, talking about me. You're an egotist because you don't be having guests and shit on your show.
They think you're an egoist. They think that you're self-righteous and that you're,
right.
You know, you're not like, you like just hearing yourself speak when
right.
really we were led.
When in actuality, that's really not even the case. The real case is...
Why do you choose to not have 1,000 guests on your show then?
Well, the reason why I don't right now is because as much as I know people is out there and all of that, the only person I can really co-sign for and validate besides myself, you know what I mean, and my brother, is my queen. I can't really say that about anybody else.
But people say that I you know.
That's the second part of it. But what I'm saying is that they don't co-sign it because a lot of times, well, me personally, I find it difficult to just co-sign anybody. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not the type of person to just because I see somebody kicking some real good knowledge or whatever, that I'm just wanting to jump on them and bring them up under me like that. I would rather listen and observe and see something after and support, you know what I mean, like that. And then after I get to a certain point, I see, okay, I feel my spirit say, okay, this person's whatever, then I can deal with that. But I'm be damned if we created this sacred space for people to call up and get their questions answered without any drama or yelling or excessive person or whatever it is they get in these other shows. I'd be damned if I set this cycle up to then just just get somebody on as a disagreeable spirit to then just degenerate the energy that we built up on this show. Like, I've done blog talk shows and radio shows and stuff like that before. Yet, every time I did it, when I thought about doing it, I always thought about doing it like this. But I ain't never really tell nobody, okay, this is how I was going to do this shit or whatever, because really, to keep it real with everybody, I'm not really a computer tech head like that. You know what I mean? Like, I just got on Facebook. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't really deal with that type of stuff. I'm so in the real world that the virtual world a lot of times is like kind of extra. But then I need that because this is what allows me to get in touch with everybody, you know, that be listening. So it's a double-edged sword with anything. But too much of anything will kill you. All I know is I can validate and talk about what I do. I can't really do that for nobody else. So I don't really want to just co-sign anybody. And I'm cool with mad people. I'm not talking about nobody in particular. I'm just saying, as much as I'm cool with a lot of these people, a lot of people think because they see you on tapes with people or do a song with somebody or whatever, like you like people's with them, like y'all hang and y'all all chill like that. And it's not like that. You know what I mean? It's not like that in the hip-hop game. It's not like that, you know what I mean, in really anything, you know. So a lot of people get into this conscious thing to create a social network for themselves because they've been introverted for so long. They don't really, know how to make friends any other way, so they figure, okay, I read a certain books. Yeah, and then
women love smart niggas. I think 95% of the men that do this shit are like, ooh, bitches is looking at me. Let me, it's a way for men to get pussy. Like,
yeah,
that's what I
that too. Is that true? But everything is like that. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, a lot of times a lot of us come into this consciousness and this awareness, and we think because we in this new community of all these conscious people, whatever, that, none of the things that happen in 85 society is going to happen in this one, and that's totally the opposite. It's actually worse in the consciousness community because you have people that's fooling themselves to believing that they have a lot of knowledge because they read books, the joint orders and shit like that, and they out here talking to people about stuff, and these people are totally corrupt on the inside. These people don't raise their families. These people don't like women, but they'll be the first one to tell a woman what she should wear, how she should wear it, you know what I'm saying, how to maintain a black family, all types of shit. But they ain't with theirs.
They don't share money with their bitches.
They don't
buy groceries with their family.
And worse is using ancestral knowledge to pimp. You know what I'm saying? And they didn't leave it here for that. So all these people get exposed and dealt with. So to save myself from getting caught up in any of that drama, I said, well, we just going to do this on some family tips. And the people support, So again, twa to everybody for that. Another point. I found out that those people that are looking into government codes and stuff like that, if you want to find out the code that says that the IRS is, actually, you got to be careful when you say this shit now, though, because they got new rules on the books since the stimulus thing came about that says that you can't really tell people, this is for U.S. citizens, though, you can't really tell people, the real shit about the IRS and all of that. But again, all of this falls under the freedom of speech thing, and your man Obama just signed another bill kind of supporting that in a roundabout way. But long story short, if you get the IRS publication, get IRS publication 6209, and when you read that, you'll see what it says about the IRS being a outside agency. That was kind of set up by the same dudes that set up Jack. There's another book, Creature from Jekyll Island. The Creature from Jekyll Island, I forget the author. But that's a perfect rule, and it's in there as well. So you could check that out. Also, U.S., all of the alphabet gangs that do the government for the federal government are basically autonomous agencies. Because remember, the U.S., in its founding, in its beginning, it didn't have no money. So where did it get money to start all this other stuff? They had to outsource and use government funds to create these outsourced agencies that then act as tentacles for it. So the standard ones that we know about, even the ones that's not so familiar, like the DZF or the PHT. They got a lot of them that you don't really hear about, And within those agencies, they have certain bureaucracies that have their own, like, armies and stuff. Like, Clinton used to call his brigade the True, what are they called? The True Colors Brigade, or the True Colors Army, or whatever. just like Bush and them had the Blackwater thing popping. Blackwater, case in point, recently changed their name based on the fact that 12 of its operatives wound up being charged for war crimes. Speaking of which, they also put up a thing that said that the newest number of dead U.S. soldiers is 4,404 as of today. So you know that's at least double. You understand? As well. Also, the fact that they got all of these, that a lot of these organizations have to get approval from a British branch called the Chatham House. The Chatham House is the parent organization for the Tavistock Institute. They work in tandem, and we know what Tavistock, what all that's about. So, case in point, another thing, since we talk about intelligence. Intelligence-wise, everything, basically, what I'm trying to say is 85% of all intelligence is based on informants. You know what I'm saying? So we're really not talking about detective work. We're really not talking about forensics. We're really not talking about deductive reasoning a lot of times. A lot of times we're just talking straight up about people informing on other people. And now with all of these social engines, Twitter and Facebook and MySpace and Tagged, all of these different things, people, you don't really need informants. Everybody informing on themselves. Everybody, every minute of the day, you going in Twitter telling somebody what you're doing, that can go both ways. It's good in cases like with that black kid in Brooklyn who got arrested and tried to say he robbed and shot somebody or whatever, because he was Twittering somebody. At the time that all of that went down, they had to let him go. And I think he got some bread out of that too. But either way, you got to watch what you put out there. Like, I was browsing through one of these sites the other day. I saw this girl in there. She had like 700 pictures on her. Man. Like, come on, man. That is way too much of yourself to be putting out there like that,
That's my opinion.
And again, this is my opinion, but my opinion, again, is based on research, And a lot of people that get pinched, like they pinching people now based on their Facebook pages, their MySpaces, they even, people, this went under the wire a little while ago too. The first person in U.S. history to be locked up based on his rap lyrics. They locked up this brother because he made a song about clapping somebody, whatever. And then the cops got his album, and then they played it in the courtroom, and because he was talking about it, you know what I'm saying, they locked him up. So again, man, stop diming on yourself. Not the way to go. Better to be truthful, Something else you want to drop on people. Oh, okay. Being that we're talking about intelligence, still, a little history on that in terms of it being integrated into the government. Right before the Civil War, what Lincoln did was he initiated a bunch of amendments. Those amendments that were enacted during the Civil War, 3/5, 3/5 and all that, well, not 3/5, but the slavery thing, emancipate, all of that stuff. All of those things were war amendments, meaning that they were supposed to be transferred back into the country was supposed to be transferred back into a Republican style of government. They never did that. They never rescinded them. Or what they instead did was they enacted an intelligence agency to perpetuate foreign policy wars, as well as to create dominance for the United States in this hemisphere, being that it was a new federalized nation that was basically trying to set up a white paradigm in which it would act as an extension of Britain. So they created an organization called the Pinkertons. The Pinkertons were taken from, the first ones were taken from regiments of the officers' corps in the federal army, in the Union Army, and they began to train them in intelligence techniques. But the techniques that they taught them at the time, a lot of them were coming from the Apaches, right? The Apache, to this day, I think they even get Apache training, to the point they even name their helicopters after natives, like the Black Hawks and the Apache, the Black Hawk, the Apache, they had a prototype for one called the Skyhawk, etc. So these Pinkertons got their stripes on how to track and all of that stuff through watching a lot of the Apaches and how they would attack them at their forts and stuff. And then they began to apply that with a westernized philosophy. But it wasn't until Pike came around that they began to ingrain it with the Luciferian aspect, as well as the white supremacist aspect. So the more recruits they got, they began to indoctrinate them with all of this rhetoric. So the Pinkertons basically did their thing so much, like Lewis and Clark, they were Pinkertons. You know what I'm saying? They these research guys, you know, the frontiersmen, Daniel Boone, and these types, all of those guys were involved in this early form of U.S. intelligence. There's a movie called Wild Wild West with Will Smith, and they have some Pinkertons in that. Only thing that happened around the time of Andrew Jackson. Anyway, that philosophy of U.S. intelligence to promote white supremacy throughout the world was adopted by another organization that came later called the OSS. And the OSS was basically set up by a guy named Alan Dulles and his brother. And they, and George Bush, who eventually remolded it even further and turned it into what, you know, we know it is today. But essentially the OSS studied what they call the black arts from MI5, as well as the Mossad that was being formed, even though Israel technically wasn't a state at that time. The terrorist acts that the Israelis was doing to the Egyptians who was running Israel at the time eventually came into what the Mossad is and does today. You know, and if we wanted to, we could tie it further back to the Templars, and even further back, we get back into what we talked about. Moors was doing in Syria and Persia, as well as Baghdad, in Salamanca, which was kind of like the Moorish Tibet, where the Hashemites, or the Hashemites, as they was also called, they used hashish when they would go in to assassinate members of the Arab caste that had overthrown the darker Moors and pushed them further into places like Mali and, you know, West Africa. So essentially, after the OSS, after World War II, the OSS basically became what we know as CIA. And as much credit as they get in all of the stuff they do, most of their stuff don't work. You know what I mean? It don't work because they are doing it based on embellishment. So everything they do, they always got to cover it up. So you always know some shit they involved in because there's always mad stories, you know, and there's always like different versions. They have people on both sides that just come out, and all of these people be employed by the same agency. A year and a half ago, they came out in the Daily News. They came out with a list of all of the CIA agents that was active during and after the war, and we know all of them. Julia Childs, Frank Sinatra, everybody that you see on TV basically in this list. I forget it was the Daily News though. I forget what month, but it was sometime I think before the summer. So if you do the research, you can find that out. But essentially, none of their stuff really works because again, it's built on denying God. So anytime you set yourself up to be Lucifer, you're going to lose. You know what I mean? Because that's the role. It's just you get to have a lot of material shit in the meantime. But the minute there's a book called Faust, and there's a quote and it says that one saying yes to one instance of evil is saying yes to it all. And essentially that's what it is. That's why this is where you get terms like you are the company you keep, birds of a feather flock together. It's you could be a light worker around a bunch of dark people, you know what I mean? But eventually, the higher your vibration gets, either you're going to leave the cycle or the dark people will have to leave. You know what I'm saying? And I mean dark in the sense of sullen, not in complexion. You know? I know some real light-skinned people that's messed up. You know what I mean? As dark as hell in their heart, you know? And I know the opposite. So it's really about the company you keep. That's why anytime you enter any type of group or organization or anything like that, you really need to the bylaws and the dues are to that organization and how it was founded, like as much as you can about it. You need an objective opinion because you become the divinity for whatever God you worship. And again, the intelligence communities operate with that intent of creating false gods for the inhabitants of the planet to worship. So in essence, when we talk about the shadow government or New World Order, we're talking about all the intelligence agencies of the world working together to maintain all of the wars and everything else that's popular. Like there is no Al-Qaeda. Osama bin Laden been dead since 2004. That's why they shot that chick Bhutto. They had to hit her because, you know, she put it out there. She was going to put that shit on CNN. So they got rid of her the same way they got rid of her husband. But where's the son? The son is going to school in Oxford. You know what I'm saying? Like, how you going to say your son to Oxford when shit is popping in his homeland when he basically is the next in line to the throne? But again, they keep coming out with Osama DVDs and shit. For all you know, Saddam Hussein ain't dead. Why would they kill him? They was giving him all of the money. They found him in a hole. You seen him. He flipped the whole trial shit. He pulled the moral sovereignty shit. He was like, "Yo, I'm sovereign. This is a invading force. This is not a real. This is a kangaroo court." Like he went in on these niggas. Go back on YouTube and look at what he did during the trial. And I'm not saying he's a good man. I'm just saying that he still was the king of them people, and the people over here was paying him to kill other Arab people. So he killed other Arab people, his own people, and then what he did was he was taking their money and buying and exchanging it for euros. So of course they had to go at him and kill his sons and put them on the front of the paper like that. Like all of that is an op. You see what I'm saying? Because that same program is the same program that Idi Amin was in, the same program that Gaddafi was in, the same program Castro was in, the same program Mobutu was in, the same program Mandela is in. because they all funded by the same people, whether they know it or not. So, again, you know, who you give your loyalty to and what you give your loyalty to is a part of the intelligence game as well. Because if you give it to the wrong entity, that entity now can be manipulating you based on the information that it's giving you, but it's giving it to you as a means to make you dependent upon it. Therefore, you become a tentacle of the bigger entity that it serves by proxy, which is a form of demonic possession and a form of unwarranted jurisdiction. So, what we're going to do now, we're going to go into another joint. This one is by Saga Saad Ali. The joint is called Trickle Up. Pick up the Saga Saad, holding it down. We're going to play this joint, and when we come back, we'll go straight to the phone. All right? The joint is called Trickle Up. You can get it off of Saga Saad LP 44, free to download. You go to MySpace, Saga Saad Ali. And it's hot.
Backtrack, life is like a race, continue to run the laps. Hurdles could trip you up, watch out for the traps. Maintain your speed, running the relay cause there's no reps. No rewind, no replay. It could feel like a 100-yard dash when you're chasing for the cash and your mind on the podium. But your eyes, you gotta open them, zoom in and focus them. Life is a place filled with people like auditoriums. Oxygen is vital, sorta like opium. Smoking on opium. Some people say Assad, yeah, we know him. Others talk about 30 scoping them. I'm sorry, there's no hope for them. I ain't come here to fall and be carried by many men. I came to get it in late night like Letterman. Sent a letter to your editor, he told you let him in. I know that you know. You know that I know. Life is a psycho, trickle up. Life is a psycho, trickle up. I know that you know. You know that I know. Life is a psycho, trickle up. Life is a psycho, trickle up. Shall I proceed to begin? Focus like Jackie running. Maybe a BB, I make this look easy. Marathon man maneuvering through traps like easy. Got tracks like trains of the veins of Charlie, Billy, Miles. I got that flow you would like, so please just stay a while. Stay a while. Crack a bottle or crack a smile. Crack a Dutch. Yeah, I puff, but I don't really do that too much. I'm off in my own zone, spinning like a cyclone, so give me 5 feet, please. Whether they got blown, no time to postpone. Or crack a fish bone, searching for the philosopher's stone. And see ever beyond this lyrical triathlon is going on like the longest over in the Holy Quran. If you know the book, you know the chapter. When you see the opening, it comes right after. I know that you know. You know that I know. Life is a psycho, trickle up. Life is a psycho, trickle up. I know that you know. You know that I know. Life is a psycho, trickle up. Life is a psycho, trickle up. I'm straight like my sneaks off, working with parody. Got the record, welcome to my mental art gallery. My canvas, the beat, the brush is my mentality. The paint, my pain soul, internal gadgetry. That's why sonically, you can hear my masterpiece. Gotta catch it before the van go down the street. Pablo moves fast, bobbing to the beat. ASA Dogon, wanna know more? Check the promo, artwork and photo. I say it again, ASA Dogon, wanna know more? Check the promo, artwork and photo. You know.
Yeah. Back with Super Heru Radio. That was Saga Saad with Trickle Up off the 44 joint. Definitely try to get that for free on download. on MySpace / Saga Salali. So yeah, man, we here, we back. Super Heru Radio. Just want to say shout out again to all of the people, unfortunately, that have lost their lives. We want to say peace to them and their ancestors, and provide a way for them to get where they need to go, as well as all of the animals and all of the plankton and aquatic life that have been harmed by this attack between two useless powers. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, man, we're going to get into some calls. Here we go. Peace. You're on Super Heru Radio. Hello, hello? Anybody there?
Hello?
Peace.
Peace, what's up? What's there?
Hey, what's up, bro?
Ain't nothing,
I don't
man.
know.
Peace to you.
All right.
And
What's up? What's up, everybody? What's up, Morris, Brooklyn?
Empress in the back, what's up? Yeah, I'm glad to see that your show went smoothly without any satellite beaming down where you at.
Thank you, brother, for the acknowledgement. You know, I was just been, say here just on something like, let me not even move the phone too much. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got a question for you. A while back, you had hit it on that. You said that sometime in the summertime, we be thinking that it's the AC that be making our electric bill go up.
Yeah.
But you said it's actually them spying on you. Can you get in and out?
Yeah, it's the NSA, man. It's the NSA. They the ones that run up the most electric bills in the entire country. The companies tack on at least 20%, 35% of your monthly cost based on their usage. But that usage is not listed as an extra cost or even isolated as it not coming from you. For reasons of national security, that knowledge is kept from you. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, they run the most. The way you can do the knowledge to that is to get, through a Freedom of Information Act, an audit of the whatever company you got.
Right.
Their records to their government payouts. And based on the amount of money that they are paying out to the government, lets you know how much money you're paying out to the government. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't get
I forgot which representative that it was for New York City, but he made a big, gigantic uproar, not because he wanted to, it was because some people was pressuring him to bring attention to Verizon, because Verizon was still collecting, a couple of cents from people to pay off the war and some other bond debts.
Yeah, through the war bonds that the corporation was duped into getting under the Bush shit.
Right.
Because Bush went to the corporations and was like, look, we already got a timetable how we trying to get in there. We don't even have a plan B. We don't have no exit strategy. We're just going to get in there and just fuck it up so that way we got to stay there. And while we stay there, Halliburton can then come in and then they can flip up the contracts and then bring in the foreign contractors to then give that money, a percentage of that money back to the government. So the company said, cool, we'll support the war in buying the bonds. But the bonds, a lot of them bonds that they bought was mortgage-based security bonds, which were basically bonds. Which are basically bonds attached to prisoners. This is when they was able. This is at the time this went down is when they was pushing for the privatization of the prisons, and this is when the corporations was buying the prisons. The corporations didn't buy the prisons. The corporations acquired the prisons based on the United States not having the money to pay them for maintaining the prisons. So because they couldn't maintain the prisons financially, the government, they said, well, we'll give you control of the mortgage-based securities, which is the prisoners inside the prison, and by proxy, then you got to put money into the prison. See what I'm saying? So These niggas got to, so by the time now Barack is saying, look, I don't give a fuck what Bush told you. I'm telling you that we're shutting the whole system down. So you either get on board, in which you allow us to nationalize a percentage of buy into your company as a government, and then we buy into your company, and then we allow you to function. So it's basically like, nigga, this is my block. I know this is your block, but I got more dudes, and I got a bigger clientele. So either you come in with me, or I'll let you rock for a while, but eventually move you out. You know what I mean? By snitching on you, or bombing your country, or hitting you with an earthquake. You know what I mean? Some shit like that.
Right.
You know? So yeah, man, the NSA is soaking up your everybody's electric bill. It ain't no AC. You know what I mean? AC can only get us so cold. You know what I mean? It don't get to a point where it's like they go beyond a certain degree. You know, even with a trick people could do is try to go for as long as you can without turning 3 lights in your crib off. On for the month, and see if there's a difference in the bill. It ain't gonna be no difference. You know what I'm saying?
You know what? That makes absolutely sense, because a lot of these companies, what they have is a so-called cap, right?
Yeah.
And that so-called cap means that you pay for the same amount of so-called usage.
Exactly.
So that will give keys to their game. All right, one more question for you. I'm trying to go to a lot of the sacred sites in New York City. Mm-hmm. I'm trying to find a book or a place that they may have it under. I know they may have it under Native American sacred sites or something like that.
There's a book you could get called, in terms of ancient giants, there's a book you could get called Asiatic Kingdoms in America. I forget the author though. And then there's another one called Unexplained Faces in in South America or something like that. But in terms of books that's out now, there's joints you could get Ancient American magazine.
Right.
You can get that at Barnes and Nobles and shit. They come out with that every month. They always profiling some type of mound or some type of, you know what I'm saying, cavern, or with some type of more stuff on it. And also anything you can find online about where mounds and shit are.
Right. All right, no doubt.
All right, King.
All right, thanks, brother.
All right, my brother. Thanks for calling in, B.
No doubt.
Peace. Okay, here we go. Peace. On Survey Radio.
Hello.
Peace. How you doing, Queen?
Hi. How are you?
Radio. I'm good. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I was wondering if you could just do the knowledge on the whole, I don't know, what the legal system or whatever, just because I know a couple of weeks ago a guy was strangled to death in Chicago for, I guess, allegedly shoplifting crayons and some toothpaste. And he was strangled to death by a CVS employer. And they're saying that he is not going to be charged for the whole ordeal. And I don't know, it just seems real crazy. I mean, I know it's just a sign of the times, but could you just, the legal system or whatever it is that's, has this always been where you could do that kind of stuff, or?
Well, yeah, unfortunately. It's been that way since about 1791, but it's gotten to, see, when it was prior to civil rights and during civil rights, it was out in the open that the white man was the devil and that he, would sick dogs on babies and blow up churches and all that to kill black people. Everybody agreed on that. You had those blacks that was trying to move into that system and those blacks that were trying to have their own, right? So
right.
The civil rights movement came, and what that did was that promoted financial integrationism. And what that did legally was that it put black folk now, who were seen legally as 3/5 of one person, into a commerce situation where they could then attain assets. See, that would be legally, that would be like you allowing your horse to charge people for rides. And you give the money to the horse. So essentially, it's a legal fiction that he created to reduce us from being people able to pay our own debts and stuff like that. So what he did was he created the false terms like Negro and Black and African, and he began to use the legal applications to that as a means to enforce a certain degree of material financial racism that he could no longer exhibit through a clannish white man is the devil thing. He had to change it. He still needed people to be slaves, but he couldn't enslave them openly. He had to get them to enslave themselves. So he got us to enslave ourselves to a false understanding of who and what we are here in this geographic place. And when he began to manipulate that, the more and more of us that started to integrate into the system, though, through civil rights, they now became the new stewards or stewards or holders of this system. So they were supposed to come in there, Jesse Jackson and them supposed to come in there and make everything utopia better. But instead they took the money and blew it. And what happened was now things are so messed up, they know that they blame for it. So what they got to do now is switch it to an operative and make the racism now a financial legal thing. So the guy is not charged for strangling that guy because they're trying to make the guy who got killed seem like he was like crazy. And because the guy, went crazy on him now, you see what I'm saying? He still has a white status in society. You understand?
I see.
So based on status, so white and black is not about color really. It's about financial status and government leeway. So if you're seen as a white person, you can achieve things. But in order to be seen as a white person, you have to get rid of all of the stuff that made you what you were. And that's for anybody that's trying to get into the past of being white here. See? Yet we are the original white people in the sense that we are the ones that are of the original time when things were natural. Okay. So how we need to start avoiding things like this is to get into things like real nationality, real spirituality, and blending the two to form a manner of etiquette when it comes to dealing with people that are dealing in these devilish realms. You know what I'm saying? Right, okay. I see. I hear you. That makes a lot of sense. So, yeah, man. Thank you for the call, man. Any other questions? No, thank you. I really appreciate it. No doubt. Okay, peace. 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 Peace, you're on Super Heru Radio.
Actually told, for some reason,
Peace. Yeah?
Pablo got some good ass music, man.
Hello, I hear you. Do you hear me?
It's something spiritual in that nigga. If you listen to all this other shit, all that bubblegum shit.
I guess you couldn't hear him talking. Let's see. Peace, you're on Super Heru Radio.
Yeah, hello?
Peace.
Hello?
Hey, I'm here.
Yeah, peace. All right, wow. This is the first time I ever got through.
All right.
Hello?
No. Yeah, I'm here, man. I can hear you.
All right. Well, where to start? Yeah, I got, I've been checking you out on YouTube, and I've been checking out the Abundance and the Know the Ledge.
Okay.
And I came across the RV Bay Publications website.
Right.
And, I seen the paperwork, but I tried calling the number on the RV Bay Publications because I need help about how to go about. I know I have to mail in the proper papers to the right avenues and everything, but there's no information on the right way to do that.
Right. Well, as far as like anybody else, I don't really have any knowledge about what who the RV website is.
Okay.
Are you talking about Ravana? Talking about Ravana?
No, it's Taj Tariq.
Oh, okay, yeah, like I know Brother Taj and all that.
Yeah,
but
he has a website, RV Bay Publications, and they have.
Okay, that's his website.
Paperwork.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
And I've
I don't really
downloaded
have
them and everything, but I try to call to try to get some help on. I know I have to file paperwork with different offices and everything to dissolve my contracts. And
right.
I don't know. It seemed like ever since I left Harlem and came down here to the South, like that's the only avenue I have is the internet. You know
right.
what I'm saying? And like nobody really talks about. Everyone's talking about you have to nationalize and this and that, but if
right.
you can't be in
well,
Harlem and attend classes or whatever,
right.
There's no way. No one's. Actually, Abundance hit me up on Facebook today, but like I'm down here in the South, and like it's a lot of I got a lot of things that I want to start doing down here in the South to get on board with the movement. But
right.
I guess I'm just anxious on dissolving my contracts because these police are really on some craziness down here. Believe me.
I dig it. As far as what the brother's doing and all of that, I don't like. He's definitely one of my elders, but I don't really. I'm not really affiliated with how he does what he does.
Okay.
You understand? Like just
well,
that's what I'm saying. Like,
yeah. Well, basically, when I called, I really just started talking, and I really didn't really pose my question to you.
Okay.
And my question was really initially is like, is there any avenues that you could point me to, or maybe get an email or a number to where I can find out how to take the right steps to, do what I need to do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, as someone who's gone through, a lot of what it is you're talking about, what I could do, I could give you my email, and we could talk, I guess, in private.
Okay. Yeah.
You know what I mean? But what I could tell you right now, as just so everybody can do the knowledge, is that my biggest thing with the movement, as we coin it, is that there is no centralized
solution
manner of making everything happen. Everybody has a part, but because everybody is in their own individual places at individual times, sometimes things can seem more unified than they really are.
Definitely. Yeah,
and,
I understand.
And because of that, there's certain things that happen, or you'll start to see that whatever you choose to do is what's going to make you a sovereign. It's not about what you're going to file with these people and everything. As much as it's about nationality, it's about the nationality of oneself first. Like, you really got to be prepared to learn how to deal with extreme personalities and to be able to almost talk them down. You know what I mean? it's like we've been taught as original people, original men here specifically, that we got to be real aggressive. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But with this thing, it's more the opposite.
No emotion.
You have to almost have the appearance of the art. You know what I'm saying? You have to almost have you have to be so aggressive and so almost controlled. And I mean, not even dealing with the white man in the courts and all that. I'm talking about with your own people that you're gonna be building with.
Yeah.
That's gonna be talking to you about this shit. Because a lot of these dudes is not don't even know what they're talking about.
Believe me, I understand.
You know what I'm saying? Like, for real, man. Like, it's real. And it's not just a Moorish problem. I don't want to make it seem like that. It's a consciousness problem. Because everybody that is not basically a Christian, that's not a black Christian, is basically practicing Moorish science in some form of fashion. Whether you're an Israelite, whether you're a Wapian, whatever you want to call yourself. If you came after the time that Noble Joe Ali lived in North America and you claiming something that's not Christianity, you on some Moorish science shit.
Okay.
The white man, no. You dig what I'm saying? The white man, no. But because we are so into what we have been cultivated through, we have a tendency of holding on to it because we're that type of people. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We hold on to shit. But now is the time for you to understand how you're going to, operate it. So what you could do is you could holler at me at House, HOUSE, OFEL at hotmail.com. And, remind me, who you are, and then we could,
Yeah. Hey, my name is Kobe, Kobie, Killing Oppression by Intelligent Effectiveness.
Okay.
House of L at MSN, you said?
At hotmail.com.
Oh, Hotmail. All right, peace, Noble.
Peace, King. Okay. Peace, you on Super Heavy Radio. Hello? Anybody there?
Hello?
Peace. Peace, Queen, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. I couldn't tell if I was on. I just wanted to say I appreciate the show.
Thank you, Queen. I appreciate it.
This is calling in from North Cross. And what's going on? You good?
You good? As good as I could be. You know what I mean?
That's good.
You know what I mean? Every day's another one. How you doing?
Yeah, no doubt. Good. I've just been watching the stock market. I've been watching Wall Street in China. I'm watching the force on du jour. I see it coming.
See it, right?
Yeah, I see it. I also wanted to bring up what's going on in Jamaica and Kingston.
Yeah.
They declared a state of emergency over there.
Thank you for that.
And they're going in over there, really. And I think we need to pay attention to that.
That's right. They're not having it. And they're doing it because the United States wants them to extradite somebody that the CIA was using to sell coke to them for. But the thing is, he used all of the money, again, not more benevolent than Saddam to a certain degree, but there he is another asset, that's what they call him, who is now using the money that they're giving him that they think he's just going to use to buy cars and women and weed and stuff, and instead he's giving that money to the people. You know what I'm saying? So he was feeding thousands of people, you know what I mean, around him. If they move him out, again, this is the United States, then again trying to exert its tentacle, but now he is now entrenched in the people. But at the same time this is out, now the movie Robin Hood is out, right? There's the white boy who's acting, who again playing them more or whatever, but there's a white boy going against the government, taking their money and giving it to the poor. So here's the physical representation of this activated now to the point where the people are ready to burn down the country.
Yes, they
Jamaicans
are.
ain't got no army. They ain't got no army. They ain't really got no government. And the United States is the reason.
Yeah.
You know?
That's true. That's true.
But again, this is with the stock market now. Because now if anything happens to Jamaica could become destabilized. There's now another reason for them now to go down there with tanks and stuff. And now eventually you're going to see the erosion of the Caribbean islands now that they've been a part of this CARICOM thing. Because the United States is losing money in that. Because the United States is the ones that fronted the money. They can't support these things no more. Just like in Greece. It's very poignant that Greece, which is again the so-called white or Caucasoid or Western model of Western civilization now, because Greece is the first country to fall with this financial shit. You know what I mean? It really shows them that it's almost like the creator showing you that I'm destroying this thing from the beginning again. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm starting with Greece. So you in Greece, which is basically falling, and then you in Iraq, which is Babylon, which is Mecca, which is the cradle of civilization now falling at the same time. So on both ends now, things is already destroyed. So now it's just about what's going to happen in Israel and how soon it's going to take these people to, you know, to declare it over here. They're trying hard not to, though.
Yeah, they are.
They're trying
I
real
appreciate
hard.
you. I really appreciate what you're doing, and you guys stay safe out there and just keep doing what you're doing. We're listening, and we're building with you, and we'll continue to send positive energy to you and your wife, and just keep you guys lifted up, okay?
Thank you, Queen.
You're welcome.
Hotel. Peace, you on Super Heru Radio.
Peace, this Hotel. What's going on, guys?
Peace, God. How you doing, man?
Chilling, man. I was listening to that joint. I'm half Jamaican, by the way, half Jamaican, half Trinidadian, so I've been, like, on that. I was like, yo, that joint is crazy. These bastards will stop at nothing to make a bad situation worse for them.
Yep. They continuously choose to do the opposite, and but again, at least they could. This shows you the level of consistency, though. You know what I mean? Too, we're dealing with something that is so out of control that it cannot stop itself. It is totally on a one-way ticket to oblivion, and it is willing to take everybody with it. And there's a lot of us that are supporting that. Like you got them people in, again, the government of Jamaica, one of the most corrupt governments in the world.
Oh,
in the world, and it's been that way since they set up the whole JLP PNP shit with Siaga and Manley. Both of them niggas was raised up in the MK Ultra program through that CIA shit. It's documented shit on this. You know what I'm saying? That's what this goes back to them killing Bob Marley when they had to bring in ISIL, the old Mengele assassin. Ooh, Mengele used to touch him up and do all that shit then. They brought him in and killed him at the end. How deep this shit is. These people can't afford nothing to happen in Jamaica.
That's crazy. And you know what they did to Trinidad back in 1990? They had this song about it called Abu Bakr Take Over. And when I started studying under Malachi York, and he had that who was his guy, Mansa Musa's brother was Abu Bakr, right?
That's right.
And they had a song about it. I was like,
wow, that's right.
And I was in Trinidad. I was like, what the hell? I was like, yo.
Right. Came over here in 1312, man. Hooked up with there's a book on that. There's a book on that called When Nations Gather by a guy named Sultan Abdul Latif. Dope.
Whoa.
Goes in on that shit. But yeah, man, that's exactly what's going on. And now, boom, here go another nation now they got to go into and do something. But they don't have enough. There's not enough. So if something pop off here, they can't afford any American soldiers to do anything. American niggas ain't going to come and kill their own people like that. I mean, you get a couple of battalions to do that, but essentially the killing of their own people, they're not going to do. So they got to get as many American troops outside of America as possible so that way they can flood it with Chinese and Russian troops. But the trick is they already contracted China to come in here and do all of this shit. But what they did was they took that money and doubled up in the drugs during the whole Iran-Contra shit, which ended up being the Whitewater shit, right? Because it's the same drug money. Then, remember when they was killing all the people in Miami? The whole Scarface era?
Right.
All of that is compounded in this $1.2 trillion that basically just appeared out of nowhere for the stimulus shit. You see what I'm saying? So everybody got a piece of the drug money. This is them passing the buck to everybody, getting everybody $1 with some blood on it. So that way when the shit goes down, there's some type of spiritual connection by even the most benign person, by even the most nicest person. If you received $1 from that in some way or fashion, we're going to have to deal with that. You see what I'm saying? This is the level of the game that these niggas is working on. We still fucking with this shit like, we still dealing with it like, yo, okay, he got some money. Let me either get some of that, down with that, or work for him, or take it. You know what I mean? They dealing with how are we going to find a way to resurrect ourselves after we are totally out of existence. You know what I mean? That's the basic premise of these people's whole outlook on shit. And this don't, and when I say this, I'm not saying this means that every Caucasian person is down with the agenda. I'm not saying that at all.
Of course.
What I'm saying is that inadvertently they still benefiting from the shit.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean? Inadvertently, black people is still suffering and benefiting from the shit. I mean, I'm glad I don't live in Rwanda. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But I've been to parts of the Bronx that's worse than that.
Ooh.
Only difference is niggas is cold instead of hot. You know what I mean?
Right.
Niggas got one bowl of rice instead of a pound of powdered milk or some shit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's out of control, man. But I'm thank you for calling in, man.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Keep no doubt, man. Keep it up, Chief.
Thank you, King.
All right, peace.
Hotel. Peace. You on Super Hayward Radio? Anybody there?
Yeah, good night. How are you?
Peace, brother. How are you?
I'm doing well. Calling from the U.S. Virgin Islands on the island of St. Croix again.
Thank you, brother. Thank you for that check-in. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking, man. I appreciate what you're doing with the show. And like a young lady said before, a lot of people are vibrating on the knowledge that you keep dropping, and it's encouraging a lot of us to be strong and to focus our energies. And I just want to just give you a little bit of word of encouragement.
Thank you, King. I appreciate that, man. I really do.
You're welcome.
A lot, though.
Yeah, I know. I feel it on my end, and it's like you know, like how you watch some of these movies, and you can just feel something is going down, and with all the craziness happening, you know, it's just universal as far as this feeling that we're all feeling right now.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
But I have a question for you as far as one of your shows in the past. You mentioned something about time. And the fact that we are actually operating on a 16-hour day, I think, time scale. You said something to that effect.
Right.
Could you explain what you meant and how do you quantify it to being a 16-hour day now versus a 24-hour day?
Well, when we look at time is the numbers used to quantify a day, right? But time is also the inner mind's eye, right? Like the old Leaders of the New School album, right?
Mm-hmm.
Therefore, it occupies two different spaces at once, just by us making that basic comparison. Therefore, we're talking about two concurrent or two parallel aspects that seemingly are the same, but are fundamentally different.
Okay.
So, time, as we understand it, is based in a Gregorian fashion, which is then a new version of Valentinian, which is then a new version Justinian, then it's a new version, going all the way back to when they first messed it up. So
that's for the calendar, right? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But see, the calendar, as we understand it, based on Western philosophy, going, let's say, from Greece on, those calendars were all means of us trying to adjust and slow down the higher vibration frequencies to allow these imperfect things to exist and have something for themselves, which would then come to be what we understand as Western society. Yet what they, once that was achieved for them, they then enslaved us to the same time period. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So taking us out of a 13-moon, 28-day cycle, right, basically means that every month is equal, every moon is equal. You see what I'm saying? Which then creates a natural balance in terms of the aspect. So being that, that since 2000, the Earth time, which is the magnetic field, has been cycling down to about going down to 13 megahertz from where it is now. By the time what they call 2012 happens, it's going to be down to about that. So in a 24-hour day, 2 and 4 is 6, right? The reason why I say it's a 16-hour day is because, one, you already know that you can't really get everything done in one day. And two, you know what I mean, when you acknowledge the equality, meaning when you understand how real time works, you know what I'm saying? Because let's say it's not a 16-hour day. Let's say it's a 22-hour day. That's still a day and a half difference. Remember, when the earthquake went down, it shaved off 6 minutes off of natural time, off of what they consider as the atomic clock's time, which translates to the fictitious clock that they started when they dropped Little Boy from Big Man, when they detonated it in Hiroshima. So all of these calendars that they have been using basically has created a system in which they can't even tell what time it is anymore. So whatever it is that they are functioning under, you know what I'm saying, they, as a people, exist on a 29-hour sleep-wake cycle. This was based on an MIT study by a guy named Houseman, who found that Caucasian people, when put in deprivation tank, sleep for 29 hours. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I'm listening.
Whereas everybody that isn't Caucasian, right, has a 24-hour day cycle like the planet. You understand? Which means that they are not functioning on the same literal or lateral time that we are. Which means that there are hours of the day, like I said, where they're not awake or asleep. Which is why they can, or like serial killers when they black out and kill mad people. There was no serial killers in the 1800s. There was no mass amounts of child killers in the 1800s that white folks didn't kill to keep quiet. Because they were still doing it, but they was keeping the shit that they was doing in their society quiet because they wanted to look to us that they was better than us.
Right.
So again, that's two different time periods. It takes the light. When you look at yourself as a reflection in the mirror, it takes the light a second at least to get back from the mirror to your eye. But it moves faster when you look at that mirror because you have direct melanin particles in your optic nerve. not just in the retina, not just in the cornea, but in the whole, what makes the eye up is melanin. These people don't have that. This is not us being racist. This is just what it is. This is what they say
it is. It is what it is. That's right.
So that's what I mean, even with time. So it takes them longer to even look at shit than you do. So what they got to do is they got to slow down what it is we looking at. You see what I'm saying? Or fuck it up so that way it comes back to us. We looking at it from a perspective of, oh, this shit is fucked up. I don't want to deal with it. So that's essentially what I meant by the whole thing.
I appreciate your abbreviated version of that information. I know you can go a lot deeper into that, but I appreciate that nonetheless. And
I appreciate that, brother.
I'll definitely be staying tuned. Is it Friday is going to be the permanent thing, or?
Yeah, I think we're going to try the first one this Friday. Super Heru Radio 3.0. We're going to try it again on Friday, and then maybe rock from Monday. Have a Monday show and then have a Friday show. So it'll be like a bookend show.
Okay, that sounds good, man. I appreciate that, and we'll stay vibrating on this frequency and stay tuned.
Thank you, Father. Be safe out there, man.
You too, man. Thanks a lot.
Be on the lookout. Be on the lookout for like strange planes like flying over St. Croix, and be on the lookout for like people in like members only jackets or like people who just are just not naturally around them. Be on the lookout for that, because see more people like that in a frequent number. That means that they looking for another beachhead, just in case. Let's say if they invade Jamaica, they're going to need another island somewhere to go regroup if shit gets too hot out there. You know what I'm saying?
So you're saying look out for strange planes outside of chemtrail planes? Because I see a lot of chemtrail planes every day.
Yeah, well, that's a sign in itself. But, yeah, on top of that, look out for any type of black military planes, any type of, like biplanes, too. Like, if you all of a sudden you start seeing, like, biplanes just flying over, like, do the honors to that.
Okay.
Yeah, all man. Right, so be safe, King.
You too, man. I'll be staying tuned to this frequency, man. Take care.
Peace.
Peace.
Yeah.
I've heard. Can you hear me? If you can hear me, can you shut down your joint?
Oh, shit.
Hey, we're radio. Can anybody hear me? Anybody there? Okay. Try it again. Peace. Peace. This is Super Heru Radio. You live. Anybody there? Anyone there? Guess not. Try again.
Hello?
Peace. You now rock with Super Heru Radio. Anyone there? Anyone at all? Anybody there? Peace. You live on Super Heru Radio. Anyone there? Hello, hello? Hello, hello? No, I think I'm on. Try again. Peace. This is Super Heru Radio. You on the air. Anyone there? Anyone at all? Try again. Hey. Well, I guess we spoke too soon, but I'm back. They can't get rid of all of us, yo. I'm going to try to take another call real quick in the last 8 minutes. Let's see. Sorry about that, guys, but, you know, technical difficulties always abound. Peace, you on Super Heru Radio. Anybody there? Yo, you on Super Heru Radio. Anybody there? Anybody there? Peace, you on live with Super Heru Radio. Anybody there? Anyone there at all? The Super Heru Radio. Anyone there? Peace, the Super Heru Radio. Anybody there? Peace, the Super Heru Radio. Anybody there? Anybody at all? Peace. Peace, what's up?
Good. How you doing?
I'm good, King. How are you?
Pretty good, man. I was just tuned in, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate the work that you're doing, brother. But I did have one question though, man. I was wondering, like, who came up with the names pertaining to like the planets, you know what I'm saying, and the months?
Usually it was us in one form or fashion. It's just the names get converted, and a lot of names in history got switched around with this dude named Thaddeus Stevens on behalf of Rockefeller and them in the 1800s when they gave him his control of the school systems here. So a lot of the original names got switched up for Greek and Roman names that they were now showing people, trying to convince people were actually white. You know what I'm saying? The main purpose of modern day education is to diseducate, and we know everybody else, but on top of that is to disenfranchise conquered peoples out of their own history. You know what I'm saying? So the main purpose is always to get you in situations where you calling shit by the wrong name. Because to call something by its real name is to have power over it. You know what I'm saying? Like if you was possessed, or you knew somebody was possessed, and you could do the knowledge and find out the name of whatever entity or demon that would possess them, and keep all of them, you wind up, if you knew the real name of it, you could bind it. You know what I'm saying? Because knowing the real name of a demon, in a sense, is really knowing the real part of yourself. You know what I'm saying? That is not necessarily demonic, but can sometimes be in the material world more than your higher self may like. You know what I mean? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me, brother?
Yes,
yes.
Appreciate it, man.
Thank you, King.
All
For
right,
the support.
man.
Thank you, Father. Okay, we're coming down to the last, 4 minutes? Peace. The Super Heru Radio. Anyone there?
Can you hear me?
Peace, I can hear you.
What's up, man? My name is Jamil, dude. I've been listening to you for a while, man. But I wanted to know, because I heard a couple people talk about melanated people being from Sirius. What is that all about?
Essentially, they're talking about old, or the interpretations of old manuscripts, doctrines, practices that were passed down from a group of original people called the Dogon. And the Dogon basically were descendants of old dynasty priests who left Kemet before everything got messed up and set up shop around the so-called Niger River, and then built upon the challenges of the stars and everything else. So they basically were the ones who gave the modern-day Caucasians the actual above diagrams, bird's eye view diagrams of the solar system. The only way you could get a view of that was used either on a ship looking down at it or leaving this planet on an astral, what they call Merkavah vessel, looking at it from as you going away from it. You know what I mean? The way you would be in a plane looking at the ship below you. You know what I'm saying? So the crackers use that whole science as a means to map the solar system and come up with the telescopes and all that other shit. So that's essentially what they mean by the whole Sirius connection.
Oh, so there's no. So are there like any prophecies or anything that say that like we would go back to that, or is it? I mean, I'm trying.
Yeah, but go back to it in the form that we would be able to convert these bodies into light vessels and be able to travel wherever we wanted by going within ourselves.
Word.
Because everything outside of us is a physical representation of something going on within us.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Cool, man, cool. I got more questions, man, but I'll have to catch you on your other show, man, because I know you don't have no time. But thanks for that, man.
Thank you, Father. We're going to be on this Friday, I think, at 9.
All right,
around the same time.
All right, man.
All right?
Thanks.
Peace, King. So, yeah, everybody, that's what it is. That was a long joint. We really went in. I thank everybody for the support. I just tried to log into the chat room. Okay, they're not hating no more. I tried to log in and I couldn't. Long story short, though, I want to thank everybody for the donations and everybody for the continued support of www.aseerthedukeoftears.com, as well as our Super Heru Radio, as well as my brother, Saga Saad Ali, as well as my other brothers, Rashawn and Rashad. And love them. Without them, a lot of this stuff wouldn't be going down. Peace to the Queen and my seeds. Definitely, let's keep the movement going. We got a graphic novel that we're about to hit everybody with called The Dark Skull 418, or the DS418, the world's most dangerous comic. I think everybody is really going to like this. We're just working on some stuff to get it out. But long story short, we're going to work on Super Heru Radio 3.0 on Friday around 9. So we'll have the Monday joint and we'll have the Friday joint. So in the beginning of the week, we could get it in, and before we party again, we could get it back in. So, again, everybody be safe. Let's keep doing the knowledge. Let's raise this vibration. Let's get rid of all syndicates. Let's get rid of anything we don't need to get where we need to go. Again, it's Super Heru Radio. Saga Saad Ali. I say the Duke of Tears, saying peace.